A waitress answers a billionaire's forgotten phone and saves the CEO from a fraudulent deal. The phone had buzzed 10 times, untouched on the white linen, before Zarya finally reached for it. The magnolia room held its breath. Only the golden light in the wine glasses still dared to move. On the screen, Harlan Quinn, Legal Affairs. 5 missed calls, then 6, then 10. Cassian Vale had just walked out, untouchable, untouching. The kind of billionaire who never looked waitstaff in the eye. She wasn't supposed to touch it. She knew that. But the phone wouldn't stop. Each vibration against the tablecloth felt louder, sharper, like a heartbeat that refused to die. Zarya's hand hovered over it. One choice: ignore it and walk away, or answer and cross a line she could never uncross. She took a breath and pressed accept. In that single moment, she didn't know she was about to step into Cassian Vale's world, a world built on power, secrets, and one contract that could destroy everything. What would you have done? Returned the phone or answered it? Share your guess, and don't miss what happens next. For a moment after pressing accept, Zarya almost hung up. She hadn't meant to listen, just to return the phone, explain the mistake. But then, a man's voice exploded through the receiver before she could speak. "Cassian, you're late. They're about to close the deal with Halden." Zarya froze. The name Cassian hit like a spark. Her voice came out small, uncertain. "This isn't Mr. Vale. He left his phone at the restaurant." Silence. Then a sharp inhale. "Who is this?" "A waitress," she said. "I just found his phone." The man's tone shifted from irritation to panic. "Listen carefully. This is Harlan Quinn from Legal. That deal must not close. There's something wrong with the contract." Zarya's heart pounded. The elegant restaurant around her blurred into noise and shadows. "I can't help you," she whispered, but he cut in sharply. "Yes, you can. Check his email. There should be a message from Halden Industries, tonight's revisions." Her fingers trembled. "That's not right," she murmured. "Please," Harlan urged, desperation breaking his voice. "If he signs that contract, he'll lose everything." A choice hung between them. Walk away or step into danger for a man who'd never even noticed her. Zarya swallowed hard. "Tell me what to do." "Try 0423, Harlan said, his voice low and steady. His father's birth date. Zarya hesitated, the phone glowing in her palm. One tap, unlocked. Her reflection stared back from the black glass as new emails filled the screen. Urgent, cold, coded in corporate language. She scrolled, searching, until one line caught her breath. Halden contract. Final revision. She opened it. Legal terms swirled before her eyes, familiar and sharp. 2 years ago, she could have read every clause with ease. Back when she was Zarya Ellison, law scholar at Howard University. Before she lost her scholarship, her reputation, and her dream. After a man in power took everything from her. The old ache returned, fierce and bright. Her hands steadied. She began to read again, not as a waitress, but as the woman she used to be. "Harlan," she murmured, "I've got it open. Then tell me what you see." Her eyes moved fast. Paragraph after paragraph, the words twisted like snares. Then she saw it. Clause 7.4, unlimited retroactive liability. Her breath hitched. "Oh my God," she whispered. "This clause makes Vale Dynamics responsible for all Halden's failures. If they sign this, they own his company and his debt." On the other end, Harlan's tone cracked. "You're sure?" "It's buried deep," she said. "But yes, it's deliberate. They're stealing his life." She pictured Cassian Vale, the calm, untouchable man with the perfect cufflinks, standing on the edge of ruin without even knowing it. "Harlan, you have to warn him." "I can't reach him without that phone," he said. "You're my only link." Zarya's pulse thundered. She had crossed a line now. The restaurant around her blurred into shadows. She took a long breath and whispered, "Then we'll stop it. Together." A shadow fell across her hands. Zarya looked up and froze. Cassian Vale stood before her, sharp suit, eyes dark with disbelief. "What the hell are you doing with my phone?" The words sliced through the quiet like glass. Zarya's throat tightened. "You left it here. Your lawyer called. It sounded urgent." "You answered my call?" His tone turned colder. "You went through my private files?" "I was trying to help," she said, voice trembling. "They're trying to steal your company." He blinked, stunned by the conviction in her tone. Across the dining room, silverware stilled. The tension thickened. Cassian took the phone from her hand, glancing at the open contract. "How did you even find this?" Zarya met his gaze, steady now. "Because once I was supposed to be a lawyer." For the first time, Cassian Vale didn't see a waitress. He saw the woman who had just saved his empire. Zarya steadied her breath as Cassian's eyes narrowed at the screen. He scrolled through the contract fast, then slower, his jaw tightening with every line. Finally, he stopped. His hand dropped to the table. "You're right," he said quietly. "This clause, it's a setup." Zarya nodded, her voice soft but firm. "They hid it under performance metrics. It's designed to fail." Cassian's face changed. The arrogance melted into something else. Shock, disbelief, and something deeper. Respect. For the first time, he looked at her as if she mattered. "How did you even notice that?" he asked. "I used to study contract law," she said simply, "before life had other plans." He looked down again, silent for a long moment. Then, almost to himself, he murmured, "I could have lost everything." The restaurant hum returned faintly around them. Zarya reached for the check folder she'd dropped earlier, trying to calm her shaking hands. Cassian glanced up, eyes softer now. "Stay for a moment, please." Something shifted. Two strangers standing at the edge of something neither expected. Cassian gestured for her to sit. "Zarya Ellison," she said when he asked her name. "Former law student." He leaned back, studying her. "You just saved my company." "I answered a phone," she replied. "That's all." "No," Cassian said, his tone measured. "You read a trap my own legal team missed. That's not nothing." He reached for his glass of water, fingers tightening around it. "Do you know what that means?" "That someone wanted to ruin you," she said. Their eyes met, his guarded, hers clear. For a heartbeat, neither looked away. Cassian's voice softened. "I don't know why you helped me." Zarya exhaled. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything to someone powerful." Silence fell, heavy and understanding. Cassian stood, slipping a card across the table. "If you ever decide you want your life back, call me." Zarya looked at it, unsure if it was a promise or a warning. Zarya pushed open the door to her small apartment. The clock read 1:12 a.m. Her mother looked up from the couch, half asleep. "You're late again, baby." "Busy night," Zarya murmured, forcing a smile. But once she was alone, the mask fell. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her reflection in the dark window. The word law still burned inside her like a wound that wouldn't heal. She remembered the dean's voice, the accusations, the way her classmates avoided her as rumors spread, plagiarism, fraud, expelled, all because she said no to a man who thought power meant ownership. Zarya pressed her palms to her face. The shame still clung after all these years. Now, out of nowhere, she'd been handed a moment that felt like redemption. The same instincts she'd buried to survive had just saved a billionaire. And, for the first time in a long time, she wondered if fate had brought her that phone for a reason. Morning sunlight spilled across her table. Zarya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Cassian Vale. "Thank you. Halden's pulling the deal. You stopped something huge." Then another message, shorter, more personal. "Dinner tomorrow?" My way of saying thanks. She stared at it for a long time. Her mother, reading the tension on her face, asked, "Who's Cassian?" "No one," Zarya said quickly. "Just work." But as she washed the breakfast dishes, her thoughts drifted back to his eyes, how they had softened when he realized she was right. Dinner. With a man like that? It made no sense. Still, a quiet curiosity stirred inside her. She typed a single reply. "I'll think about it," then set the phone face down as if doing so could silence the flutter in her chest. The next evening, the call came. A woman's smooth voice spoke through the line. "Ms. Ellison? This is Jennifer, Mr. Vale's assistant." Zarya straightened instinctively. "Yes?" "Mr. Vale requests your assistance reviewing certain documents. He's offering a consulting position. 2 weeks. $10,000. Zarya froze. "10,000?" she repeated, almost whispering. "Yes," Jennifer said calmly. "He believes your insight could prevent further losses." Zarya glanced around her small apartment. The unpaid bills, her mother's medical forms on the table. She wanted to say no, but $10,000 meant security. It meant dignity. Still, something about Cassian's offer felt too sudden, too precise. How much did he already know about her? Jennifer's tone softened. "He said to tell you, this isn't charity. It's justice." Zarya's voice trembled. "Tell him I'll think about it." But her heart whispered a truth she couldn't deny. She already had. Zarya stepped onto the rooftop terrace, wind brushing against her skin. Below her stretched the heartbeat of New York, glittering towers, endless movement, a world she'd once dreamed of belonging to. Cassian Vale stood near the glass railing, the skyline glowing behind him. He turned when she approached, his expression unreadable. "Zarya, thank you for coming." She sat across from him, unsure whether she was stepping into opportunity or danger. The dinner was elegant, quiet, almost intimate. "I didn't bring you here to impress you," Cassian said. "I brought you here because I need your help." "With what?" He took a slow breath. "Justice, not revenge." The words caught her off guard. She looked at him closely. Beneath the calm exterior, there was grief, sharp and real. "I'm not sure I'm the right person," she said softly. "I think you are," he replied. "You see things others miss." The city lights reflected in her eyes. For the first time in years, Zarya felt seen, not as a waitress, but as the woman she might have been. They lingered after dinner, the night air carrying quiet echoes of the city. Cassian's gaze turned distant. "3 years ago," he began, "my father died in what the police called an accident." Zarya frowned. "I'm sorry." "It wasn't an accident," Cassian said, his voice low. "He was testing a prototype for Vale Dynamics. The system failed, because someone tampered with it. Halden Industries was the only other company with access." Zarya's stomach tightened. "Halden?" He nodded. "They've been trying to bury the project ever since. It would make their fossil fuel investments worthless." She felt the weight of his pain in every word. For the first time, she saw the man behind the billion-dollar image, a son still chasing truth. "My father believed in what he built," Cassian said quietly, "and I won't let them erase that." Zarya met his eyes. "Then maybe you and I have more in common than we thought." 2 broken pasts, 1 enemy. The wind whispered around them as Cassian extended his hand. "We'll expose them, together." Zarya hesitated for half a heartbeat, then reached out. Their hands met, warm, firm, electric. For a moment, the city disappeared. It was just them, 2 people standing on the same side of truth for once. "You understand this won't be easy," Cassian said. "They have power, connections, and no conscience." Zarya nodded. "So do I. Just not the kind they expect." He smiled faintly, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "I'm beginning to see that." As their handshake lingered, something unspoken passed between them. Trust, maybe, or the first fragile spark of something more. Zarya looked away first. "Then let's start." "Tomorrow," Cassian said. "My office. We dig until we find what they've buried." Their hands slipped apart, but the promise stayed. The next night, the glow of 2 laptops filled Cassian's glass-walled office. Outside, Manhattan pulsed with light. Inside, silence reigned. Zarya scanned document after document, red lines of deceit threading through corporate jargon. Cassian worked beside her, his focus sharp, every so often glancing at her with quiet admiration. "You have an incredible mind," he murmured. She didn't look up. "It used to mean something." "It still does." The rhythm of clicking keys, the shuffle of printed pages, two minds syncing, chasing patterns of corruption hidden in plain sight. Hours passed unnoticed. A soft tune played from Cassian's speaker, low and steady. The city outside blurred into dawn. When Zarya finally leaned back, her eyes burned, but her spirit felt alive. "They've been doing this for years," she said. Cassian nodded grimly. "And now we have proof." For the first time since her fall from grace, Zarya felt her purpose return. The call came just after midnight. A private number. Zarya almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Walk away, Zarya," a voice whispered, male, cold. "You don't know what you're getting into." She froze. "Who is this?" Click. Silence. Her heart pounded. She stared at the phone, the words echoing like a curse. Moments later, a knock on her apartment door made her jump, but it was Cassian, unannounced. "You're pale," he said, stepping closer. She told him about the call, his jaw clenched. "They're watching us already." Zarya gripped the back of a chair to steady herself. "Maybe I should stop." Cassian's voice softened but stayed firm. "That's what they want. Fear is their weapon." He reached for her hand. "You're not alone in this, Zarya, not anymore." And somehow, that was enough to keep her from breaking. It happened just before dawn. Cassian's office lights flickered on the security feed, then went dark. By the time he arrived, the glass door was shattered, papers scattered across the floor. Nothing was missing. Computers still there, valuables untouched. Except one drawer had been forced open. Inside, every file connected to Halden Industries was gone. Zarya stood beside him, her heart pounding. They knew exactly what to look for. Cassian stared at the broken drawer, jaw tightening. They're not afraid to show their hand anymore. A cold wind moved through the ruined office, carrying the faint scent of smoke. Zarya shivered. "What if they come for us next?" He turned to her, calm but deadly serious. "Then we stay ahead of them, starting now." He called security, then looked back at her. "Pack a bag. You're not staying alone tonight." She wanted to protest, but the fear in her chest said he was right. As the alarm lights pulsed red around them, Zarya realized this wasn't just about contracts anymore. Someone wanted to erase them both. Cassian's penthouse towered over Manhattan, a glass fortress of silence. Zarya followed him inside, her reflection multiplying in the mirrored walls. Everything gleamed. Steel, marble, wealth. It felt like another planet. "Here, you'll be safe," Cassian said. "My security team's downstairs. No one gets in without clearance." Zarya nodded, but her mind wandered to the streets below, where she belonged, where life was real and rough. He offered her a guest room, spacious and spotless. When she stepped inside, she paused by the window. The city stretched endlessly, lights like stars. Beautiful, untouchable, and for the first time she felt small again. Cassian lingered in the doorway. "I'll be right down the hall if you need anything." She smiled faintly. "You really think they'll stop?" "No," he said, "but they'll think twice before coming here." When he left, Zarya sat by the window, her reflection blurred against the skyline, caught between two worlds that both felt out of reach. Hours passed. The city outside drifted into stillness. Zarya wandered into the living room, where Cassian stood by the window, shirt sleeves rolled, glass of whiskey untouched. "They won't stop," he said quietly. "Halden's too invested to walk away now." "Then what happens to us?" she asked. He turned, eyes meeting hers. "We fight. We finish what we started." Silence stretched. The air between them thickened. Zarya's heart thudded as he stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You've changed everything. You know that?" Her breath caught. "Cassian." For a moment it felt inevitable, the distance closing, his hand brushing her arm, her pulse quickening. But then he stopped. His voice roughened. "Not yet." He turned away, leaving her breathless in the quiet. Zarya stood there, the echo of his words hanging between them. Not a rejection, but a promise waiting for the right moment. The next morning, Cassian led Zarya through a marble hallway inside the federal building. A woman in her 50s waited at the end of the corridor, sharp eyes, calm authority. "Catherine Delaney," she introduced herself. "Federal prosecutor. I've been following Halden Industries for a long time." Cassian handed her a folder. "You'll want to see this." Delaney flipped through the papers, then looked at Zarya. "And you are?" "Zarya Ellison, former law student. I discovered the clause that started this." Delaney studied her closely. "You have courage, but I need to understand why you got involved." Zarya took a deep breath. Then she told her everything. The scholarship, the false accusation, the man who ruined her career. Delaney's expression softened. "You were framed." Zarya nodded. "And I won't let them destroy anyone else." For the first time in years, telling the truth didn't hurt. It felt like healing. Cassian placed a flash drive on the table. "You'll want to hear this," he said. Delaney inserted it into her laptop. A voice filled the room, grainy but clear. "Walk away, Zarya, or we bury you both." Zarya's breath caught. She recognized it, the same voice from the anonymous call. Delaney froze, eyes narrowing. "Where did you get this?" Cassian explained. "Security audio. My office records every incoming line. They didn't realize I was listening." The prosecutor leaned back, processing the threat. "This is more than corporate fraud. It's intimidation, maybe even conspiracy." Zarya felt her hands tremble under the table. "So, they'll be charged?" Delaney met her gaze. "If this holds up, and it will, we can move fast." Cassian exhaled slowly. "Then let's bring them down." For the first time since the nightmare began, Zarya believed it might actually end, with truth, not fear. The courtroom was silent. Every eye followed Zarya as she took the stand. Her hands were steady now, stronger than they had ever been. Catherine Delaney stood beside her. "Miss Ellison, please describe your involvement in the Val Halden contract." Zarya's voice carried through the room, calm and clear. "I found a hidden clause meant to destroy Vale Dynamics. It wasn't an accident. It was a trap." The defense attorney objected, but Delaney cut through it. "Let her finish." Zarya looked straight ahead, her gaze meeting the Halden executives. "They stole my future once," she said, voice tightening, "but not again." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. She continued, explaining every detail: the fraud, the threats, the corruption. No hesitation, no shame. When she finished, there was silence. Then, slowly, people began to nod. Cassian met her eyes from across the room, pride shining quietly. Zarya stepped down, her chest rising with steady breath. For the first time, she felt whole. She hadn't just testified for Cassian. She'd spoken for herself. The morning news exploded before dawn. FBI raid Halden headquarters. Corporate giants under investigation. Footage showed black SUVs, agents storming through glass doors, executives in handcuffs. Zarya and Cassian watched from his office, the glow of the television reflecting in their eyes. Delaney's voice echoed from the news clip. "Today's operation marks the first step toward restoring justice." Cassian leaned back, almost disbelieving. "It's over," he whispered. Zarya didn't answer right away. Her eyes were fixed on the screen, on the men who once held power over lives, now being led away. "It's not over," she said softly. "It's beginning." Cassian turned to her, a faint smile breaking through. "You sound like someone who's finally free." Zarya exhaled. "Maybe I am." The camera showed the Halden logo being taken down, and in that moment she felt the weight of the past lift, bit by bit, until all that remained was light. That night, the news played again, looping the footage. Zarya sat on the couch, hands clasped tight, tears glistening under the soft glow of the screen. Cassian sat beside her, silent. He didn't need to speak. When her shoulders began to shake, he simply reached out and took her hand. For a long moment, they stayed like that. Two people who had fought, lost, and somehow won. Zarya whispered, "I thought I'd never get to feel proud again." Cassian turned toward her. "You didn't just get your pride back, Zarya. You gave the world a piece of its faith." She let out a quiet laugh through tears. "You're terrible at comfort. You know that?" He smiled. "You don't need comfort anymore." Zarya leaned her head against his shoulder. The city lights flickered outside, soft and endless. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was honest, and that, for her, was everything. By morning, her name was everywhere. Waitress exposes corporate empire. Zarya Ellison, the woman who stopped Halden. Reporters waited outside her apartment. News anchors replayed clips of her testimony, calling her the voice of truth. Zarya watched from the window, a mix of disbelief and quiet pride stirring inside her. Her phone buzzed nonstop, messages from people she hadn't heard from in years. Students, old professors, even strangers writing, "You gave me hope." Cassian called. "How does it feel to be famous?" She laughed softly. "Strange. But maybe this time, it's for the right reason." She glanced at a photo on her wall, her younger self in a graduation gown that never saw the stage. Now, that dream didn't feel so far away. Zarya Ellison wasn't a waitress anymore. She was something more powerful, someone who had turned pain into purpose. Days later, Zarya pushed open the familiar door of the Magnolia Room. The scent of roasted coffee and candle wax filled the air. Her co-workers looked up in surprise, then applause rippled through the room. Marco, the manager, rushed over and pulled her into a hug. "We're proud of you, Z." She smiled, eyes warm. "I couldn't have done it without where I started." The same table where Cassian had once sat glimmered in the sunlight. Zarya traced a hand across it, remembering the phone, the choice, the moment everything changed. A waitress passed by, balancing a tray nervously. Zarya steadied her hand. "You'll get the rhythm," she said gently. "It just takes time." Outside, camera flashes waited, but inside, all she felt was peace. For the first time in years, she didn't feel small in this place. She felt home. A week later, Zarya met Cassian at his office. The air felt lighter now. No tension, no secrets, only quiet respect between them. He handed her a folder. Inside was a contract, but this one felt different. She glanced at the title page. Legal Consultant, Veil Dynamics. Zarya looked up confused. "Cassian, what is this?" "It's an offer," he said simply. "You've earned it. I want you to oversee our new compliance division. You see things others don't." Her throat tightened. "I don't even have a license anymore." Cassian smiled. "Then get one. I'll cover tuition. Finish law school. This time the system won't take it from you." Zarya stared at the papers, her hands trembling. "It's too much," she whispered. "No," he said softly. "It's just enough." She signed slowly, the ink trembling across the page. Cassian extended his hand, and when their fingers met, the gesture carried more than gratitude. It carried faith. For the first time, Zarya wasn't helping him rebuild his empire. She was rebuilding her own. Months passed. The Halden trial dominated the news. In court, father and son sat side by side, faces pale beneath the flash of cameras. The evidence was undeniable. Fraud, coercion, sabotage. Zarya testified again, calm and unwavering. Cassian sat behind her, silent strength in his eyes. When the verdict came, the judge's gavel struck once. Guilty on all counts. A hush fell over the room. Halden Sr. bowed his head. His son stared blankly, the weight of empire collapsing around him. Outside, journalists called Zarya's name, but this time she didn't run. She answered their questions, not as a victim, but as a witness of truth. Cassian joined her on the courthouse steps. "It's done," he said. She nodded. Justice always takes its time, but it arrives. They walked away together, sunlight breaking through the gray morning. For both of them, the fight was finally over. Spring returned to the city. The rooftop where it all began was bathed in soft gold. Zarya stood there again, now confident, radiant, free. Cassian approached from behind, carrying nothing but a small velvet box. She turned, smiling. You still love your dramatic views. He laughed quietly. They remind me of where we started. For a moment, they just stood together, watching the skyline. Then Cassian took a breath. You changed my life, Zarya. You gave it meaning. She looked at him, eyes warm. We changed each other. He knelt, slow and sure. The city seemed to fade, leaving only his voice. Marry me. Not because of everything we survived, but because I can't imagine a future without you. Tears blurred her vision. She didn't speak. She only nodded. Cassian slipped the ring onto her hand. The sun sank behind the buildings, painting the sky in amber light. And, in that quiet, love finally felt like peace. Zarya walked along the waterfront weeks later, her law books tucked under one arm. The world looked different now, gentler, fuller. People recognized her face, but she no longer felt the weight of their attention. As she sat on a bench overlooking the water, her phone buzzed. Cassian's message read, "Dinner's on me, don't be late." She smiled, setting the phone down beside her. The waves shimmered with light. Everything had changed. Her career, her purpose, her heart. But it all began with a single decision. One ordinary night in a restaurant. "All because I answered a phone," she whispered, smiling to herself. A gust of wind carried her words out toward the open sky. Sometimes, destiny doesn't arrive with thunder. It starts with a ring, a voice, a choice. And when she rose to leave, her reflection in the glass caught a woman who had finally forgiven the past and stepped fully into her second chance. Years passed, and the noise of the world softened. Zarya Ellison had become the woman she once dreamed of being. Strong, centered, unafraid to speak her truth. She often thought about how everything began. A phone left behind, a single call, a choice that could have been ignored, but wasn't. That moment had rewritten not just her destiny, but the meaning of courage itself. It taught her that justice is never too far for those who still believe in it, and that love, quiet, patient love, can heal what power once tried to break. Sometimes, she would whisper to herself, we never know which small act will change everything. The world moved on, but the lesson remained. Every choice mattered. Every voice had weight. Her journey had been about more than loss or redemption. It was about the grace of beginning again. Sometimes, the smallest choices, like answering a forgotten phone, can rewrite destiny. If you believe in justice, in second chances, and in love that heals, keep following stories like this one. Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting for their call to be answered too.